good at providing certain community services in the society. Okay, so ICE is doing the same thing in the areas that they occupy right now. They're supplying certain things, even though they're doing these horrific things. They're doing some things to keep the sentiment up for their cause. Is that?
Yeah. So let's segue into the concept of religion and culture. Is that a big difference in Islam? Is that a big difference in culture and religion? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it can be a big difference. It doesn't have to be a big difference because the culture can complement in a lot of places. But I think when you ask the question about culture and religion, many think that Arab culture, what is Arab culture, is Islam, or other places in what we may call Islamic world, things that they're doing. I mean, genital mutilization has nothing to do with Islam, but because it's practiced in certain Muslims, some types of female oppression, not allowing them to be able to divorce even up to today. That's the culture. It has nothing to do with Islam. But because the society has a dominant population of Muslims, it's reported as this is Islam. Even what some call this idea of Sharia, there's a lot of cultural pieces, that is received as being this is Islamic requirement. We can't have that in this country, which I wouldn't want the kind of stuff that they say in this country as well. And being a Muslim, we don't want that to come here. But that's cultural stuff, has really nothing to do with Islam. Just because you say Sharia doesn't necessarily mean that it's Islam, and everything that they're practicing under what they call Sharia is Islam. That's not the case.
And you talked about female oppression. Let's look at it. What does the Quran say about women in Islam?
Oh, I mean, really before Islam, we were oppressed significantly. Islam liberated women, and it was even a big deal for those who were outside of that peninsula to see the kind of status that women were given. It began to help some of them. Even in this, some have reverted back. Even in this society, even in America, we had sometimes women couldn't vote and other things. Even in this society right here. So with Islam, liberated women, freed women. In fact, the first quote-unquote mother of Islam was a businesswoman. The love of the Prophet's life, peace be upon him, who was married to her for 25 years. And no other woman in a society where he really could have had many as he wanted to before the limit came. He only had that one with her. The Quran, again, has their 4 chapters that are dedicated to women. A whole chapter on Mary, etc. It elevates the women, gave them a voice, gave them dignity. The society really denigrated women from birth because the society that the Prophet was in, that society was called, the term they used was Jahiliyyah. They coined it that. This means this is ignorant. I mean, this is called a period of ignorance. And that was known of that area by the known world at that time. All the other empires, they didn't expect anything of a contribution to civilization would ever come from that area because they were burying girls. If they had birth and there wasn't a boy because of this pride thing, they were burying girls. I mean, this is the vessel of life, the vehicle of life. And then again, because of male pride, etc., to be seen as weak and travel, they were buried. So that tells you how, obviously, the status in terms of how they seen women. So Islam had elevated women, and women can really hold every capacity. It puts them in a very high place. Even the rituals preserve the dignity and the regard that should be given to women that we have even in our rituals. Which is to say that, some might say that, Muslims always have women behind them. There's 2 paces behind, 10 paces behind. This is stuff that most of this is myth. But certainly in our ritual, you see women behind the men. But that's a ritual to preserve what God says should be a fixture from a state of nature. You see, that if we ever get off balance in society, the rituals are preserved the knowledge to help us get back on track. And so what that's to say is that all life comes from the woman. You see, it comes from the woman and goes in front. And she's the first teacher. That institution has to be protected. If I'm going to go to war, I have a shield. But behind the shield is my body. I have a shield there because my body is softer. I don't want that stuff coming to me, and because you have spears, sticks, whatever the case might be. But this will be, it's harder to protect what's behind it. So our prayer ritual puts the man up front because he by state of nature, by God's gift, he has bigger muscles. He doesn't have the same softness that the woman has. He doesn't bear the child and goes through periods where they're vulnerable during the month, etc. So he protects the life. And that's the picture that the prayer, our ritual, is to preserve. Not that they, in fact, they're saying that that's the most value. We have to protect that because that's where I came from. So I'm going to be out front. You're not going to disrespect that. We hold it in honor. This is the things that came in when Islam came in. But again, we find that some in certain places in the world have reverted back to tribal mentality and other things that oppress the woman.